We are back talking NASCAR once again on Proline TV. This time it's for the 2026 calendar season. I'm your host, Greg DePalma, joining me every week to see this through between the Daytona 500 and thank goodness it's back to Homestead for the new chase, the new and old chase format is back. So it should be a lot of fun, a lot of things going on in the sport of NASCAR, and hopefully all for the better. How's it going, CJ?
It is going well. Trying to stay warm, and I think NASCAR is going to be trying to stay warm this weekend. Well.
Yeah, right. What is it going to be, like 30 degrees or something like that during the race?
Not even that from what I see. And plus, the high is only supposed to be 28 on Sunday, and Cup doesn't get going until after the sun is down. So it's going to be lower than that. I think I saw that it could drop as low as like 19 degrees. So it'll be good territory for everyone.
Well, can't say I'm going to be too upset since I won't be there. So anyway, that is what's coming up this week. It's the Clash. And what do the viewers need to know about the Clash, especially if they want to put a few bucks on the Clash? You can also do that fantasy wise, which is a nice little segue to something that's going to be new to our show this season. We certainly hope everybody's going to be happy about that. And that is the fact that we're going to be, and we've teased this for the past couple of years, but we finally decided, let's get this done. And we're going to have a weekly contest that we're going to be putting together here, care of Draft Kings, and we're going to show everybody exactly how that's going to work. Hopefully, either next week would be ideal, but if not, definitely the week of the 500. So yeah, the Clash. Can you make money on the Clash, CJ?
You could. It's going to be really tough. I mean, the Clash doesn't mean much, especially since they started going to these quarter-mile flat tracks. It's a payday, and it's a good way to knock off some of the cobwebs and the dust from, the past only month, I guess, of being off before you end up going to Daytona. But really, with the temperatures, with the flat track, the difficulty getting tires up to temperature, the short track, it's a track position race. I think the only person really that could come from behind to challenge would be Ryan Blaney. He's done so the past 2 years. So from a fantasy perspective, if you're going with the classic DraftKings format, Ryan Blaney would be somebody you definitely want in your roster. But basically, whoever starts up front is more likely than not to win.
Okay. And so nothing, though. I know they're going to be doing practice and things like that. So again, it's not too cold, but it will be for the fans to check that out live and in person. I don't know. It kind of reminds me, I guess, if being a football fan, I guess it's sort of like maybe how a NASCAR fan that's not a football fan would say, why are you paying attention to training camp practices? Yes. What could be exciting about that? And that's how a football fan would feel about a NASCAR fan watching practice for the Clash.
Yes.
It's like, why on earth does that interest you?
Exactly right. I mean, it's great for the teams and the drivers to have that chance to be able to be at a track and go in earnest. You do get a little bit of sense for what the competition might be, but throw it all out the window by the time you pull up to Daytona.
All right. And I don't think I see any. No, I do see some odds at my sports book. I haven't seen them at DraftKings yet. Let's see. So the Clash odds, we've got, I could probably even throw this. Let me see if I could throw this on to our viewing audience so you can see what this is from my sports book. One of the sports books I have is a Bovada. Let's see here. Okay, so let me see if I can get a bigger. There you go. That's too big. All right, so there you go. Those are the odds. Elliott, Hamlin, and Blaney is the favorites at 7-1. So at least they're not crazy in putting those numbers down too low. So at least you could try to make some money off this. So So is there any way to try to figure it out before practice, before they set up the starting lineup?
Not really. There are 38 entries. 23 of them are going to have a chance to win. There are 4 heat races that are going to determine the starting lineup for the 200 lap main event that pays, and that's what those odds are for. So what, 15 cars aren't going to make it through. I probably have a good idea of who's going to be there and who might be competitive. So if you're going with one of the favorites, one of the big names, they're likely to be up there. But really in terms of like who maybe in the mid pack, certainly long shots, you're not going to know until after the heat races are done and you know that starting lineup for the main event Sunday night.
Okay, so that's the Clash. If you have any questions, anything at all, comments, obviously, too, let us know in the comment section. Okay, so let's talk about, might as well throw out, again, just pop it up here on the screen, as I mentioned, because they have over at DraftKings, they do have their Clash fantasy contest. Now, we're not going to get involved with that here. All we're going to be doing each week is get you involved with the races each week. And we're going to use our own contest every week as a way for you guys to enter the contest. And we're going to let you know exactly, of course, where to go. We're not going to require a password or anything like that. Just, hey, whoever wants to enter and join us every week, we're going to let you know what the contest name is going to be each week. And it is a cost. I'd like to make it something like a couple of bucks, $5 at the most. So if we get 10 minimum, then you can make $50. So something like that. If anybody has any, thoughts on that, as far as how much you would like us to throw out there for the entries each week, let us know. Okay, so this is basically just so you know, because this is where you would go here if you want to go to the Clash contest over at DraftKings. Again, we're not going to get into this, but this would be where it is. This is where it would be the 500, and this is going to be the site that we're going to use. So yeah, we'll fill you in with more information on that, hopefully as early as next week. Okay, so we might as well, let's get the antitrust trial stuff out of the way. Everybody by now should have an idea of how it unfolded because it was such a big story in the offseason. What's the bottom line?
The bottom line is that the teams got what they wanted, which was a greater say in the sport, a greater share of the revenue that they help create, and more say in the direction of the rules and the direction that NASCAR wants to go. The charter agreements that were put forward that 23XI and Front Row Motorsports objected to did not have permanent charters. It took away what is now known as the 3-strike rule, which is a very key thing for something else that we're going to talk about here later with the Roval coming off of the schedule. And then also just a greater share of the revenues. The teams and the drivers, they're the personalities of the sport. They're the intellectual property of the teams, but yet NASCAR could use them at free will. So the teams felt that they should be getting more bang for their buck. And that's effectively the way that the trial went down. I think anybody that was following it closely as the testimony went on, as witnesses were called up and you heard report outs from what was going on, I think it was very clear from the beginning that NASCAR had a very shaky foundation from which to move from, which I kind of thought in advance of the trial. I was surprised it got that far. So I was not surprised at all that a settlement was reached before the jury had to go and make a verdict. And I just think it ended up taking too long. But at the end of the day, the teams got what they wanted.
And is any of that, how does that help the regular fan?
Well,
if at all.
Well, I think it does help the regular fan for sure. So I think 23XI's lawyers and Front Row Motorsports lawyers made a great point about the original charter teams and those that exist today. And there's been such a huge amount of turnover in the teams that were there and who were the original charters when the charter system was envisioned and kicked off to who is there now. So many teams have gone out of business. So many teams have found it impossible to be able to not only show up every week, but actually, God forbid, make a profit and make a living off it and be able to support their employees, their families, their livelihood, etc. So I do think that some stability in terms of the teams is a great thing. I think that gives the teams greater leverage to negotiate for sponsors. That gives them greater security for potential driver development, for all of that stuff. Obviously, as a fan, you're a fan of the team. You're a fan of a driver. You might be a fan of a manufacturer, and I think those things all play to the longevity and the value of those aspects of the sport. So I think that is a good thing that comes for fans as a result of the trial.
Okay, the schedule is big news, and the, of course, biggest, which. This is the one that I think at least the fans may not be 100% happy, but they got more of what they wanted than the status quo. And so we go back to the chase, and now we're not going to have any cutoff, win in your win deals, all that. Everybody's going to be keeping their fingers crossed, though, that once you get to the last race or two, that there's still going to be several drivers with an opportunity to win a championship. That's going to be nobody has any idea how that's all going to shake down. Now, the good thing is, at least we've talked about this for years, is that they've upped the points for the winners. Long overdue. So that's good to see. And the way it's shaping out based on the points, you get to the chase, and if you end up, at the top, especially, you're going to have a pretty good, sizable lead that should keep you in good shape for a while. That it's not going to be now, I have a couple of bad races over a 2-week period, I got to worry about being knocked out of the playoffs. No, if you're a really good driver for the entire regular season and you have a couple of bad races when the chase starts, you're still going to be fine.
Absolutely. And I think with the changes that we've seen over the past couple of years, this introduction of the new car, it's just more competitive. So it's not back in the day where you had a team like Jimmy Johnson's that won, 10, double figures number of races each season. The most races won last year was Denny Hamlin at 6. The next closest was Shane Van Gisbergen at 5. And I don't and I'd have to redo the points to be absolutely certain of this, but I don't think that even with those 5 wins, that SVG would have made the new look chase as it will be in 2026. So we talk a little bit about him, how he's got to improve on the ovals, and he absolutely did. Just dominant on the road courses, and that's what got him into the playoffs. Again, I'd have to redo the points to be absolutely certain, but if he's in there in the new format, it's close because he was an average finish of over 20th on the ovals before I think the playoffs began. And that's when he really started improving on the ovals as well. It was really the road courses where he made his bread and butter. And obviously with one road course being taken off the list, that hurts him. But I think this is the right direction to go. I've never been a fan of the win in advance. Yes, it created some drama, but in my opinion, as a traditionalist in the sport, it was artificial drama, which I'm not the greatest fan of. I'd rather have the product on track speak for itself. And that is something that NASCAR had lacked until this new format. But I think with this new car, on certain tracks for sure, that on-track product is excellent now, and they need to take advantage of it. So this is the right call.
And then the opposite, I know there's some fans that are a little bit critical, and maybe even some of the drivers about the number of drivers that will be in the clash, in the chase. But the fact is, I don't really worry about that because I mean, and I don't know why it's a big deal, because if you are one of those last 3 or 4 drivers in, this is the reason why I like it, because what it does is it gives a driver, and I don't remember, I'm sure I could think of 1 or 2 if I had more time, but I'm sure there was a driver or 2 last year that came on really, Brett Keselowski, that came on really good late, but ran out of time. Now, if a driver like that can sneak into the playoffs, I'm not going to, because most people will go, on average, the last 4 or 5 drivers that get into a playoffs, they don't really have a chance because what are they going to do? I mean, they're there for a reason. But what's good is that small percentage, maybe 1 driver or 2 every year that barely gets in, like a Keselowski from last season, that will be a driver that, hey, wait a second, I finally started to get it this season at this point. Now I can keep this momentum going and give me a realistic chance to actually make a run. And I think there will be a driver, at least one, possibly every year, that'll be able to do that. And maybe we'll see a driver every season make a run.
Yeah, and I think that would be great. And again, that's the on-track product delivering itself, not created through artificial cutoffs and things like that. It's going to be a 10-race average, kind of performance, which granted, it's not 36 races over an entire season, but I wouldn't have the same complaint as we did this past year, or even past years, about somebody that really came in strong in that 10-race format that really did nothing all the rest of the season. I think you have more of a chance to get lucky. You had an equal opportunity, as we saw in the final, to get unlucky last year. And that's just what I don't like about it. And the fans don't like. The fans want the justified winner, the justified champion, to be crowned champion. And I think that is definitely a step closer, multiple steps closer this year in 2026 than we have been the past several years with the knockout format.
Okay. Also with the schedule. So we just found out in a matter of hours that there'll be no more Roval, that they're going to switch that to the Oval. So we'll have a second Charlotte Oval, which I can't believe they're actually listening to us.
Betty off. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So thank goodness for that. And look, some fans like the Roval, some fans like the road courses and want a road course in the playoffs and all that. Whatever. Okay, fine. I mean, we all can agree to disagree on certain things and have favorites and all that. And I'm okay with that. But come on. I mean, the average fan would much prefer the Oval a second time to the Roval. It's just, and especially I don't really know whether or not this is just going to be a one-off where they're going to have no road courses in the playoffs. Maybe it is. Maybe they made this decision at the last minute, and so they couldn't do anything. But next year they'll have more than enough time to decide, okay, let's move one of these road course races into the playoff, to the chase format, which I can see will probably happen. But, I'm okay with it. And again, maybe this season, if Max goes out there and wins all 4 races again, then they just might decide, look, maybe we have to wait another year before we put it, because it's ridiculous until you can show that there's more drivers can really win on road courses. Maybe it's not a good thing to have a road course race during the chase. But again, I just like the fact that finally with the Charlotte Oval, with this setup with the car, has looked better than ever. And so to not have that second race just made no sense.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you called SVG Max again, because they're both.
Oh, I did that again. Yes, I
did. They're both so dominant.
Yeah.
It's easy to switch them up. I think there should be a road course in the chase. I think that's representative of a type of track that these guys need to excel on in order to call themselves champions. And especially with the number of road courses that are on the schedule now, it's not just 2 anymore. There are several. There are a handful of them, less this year. But so I'm not opposed to having a road course in the chase. I just don't think that the Roval was doing it. And this actually goes back to the trial. So one of the things that the teams really wanted was a greater say in the direction of the sport, and whether things were truly good for competition or whether they just were good for the France family and NASCAR's pockets in creating themselves more money at the expense of the teams. And in the old charter agreement, not the one that was proposed this past 2 years ago now almost, but the latest round of them, the one before had an unknown clause in it that they called the 3 strikes rule. So what the three strikes rule said was basically that as a charter holder, if NASCAR makes a decision for the sport that does not increase the competition or safety, but unduly financially burdens or causes excess expense on the team's behalf, the teams can vote to use one of those three strikes. And if the NASCAR gets three strikes.
Oh, we lost CJ. We'll get him back. We had this problem before when we were prepping for the show. We were going over our fantasy prep to make sure exactly how we were going to put all that stuff together, and CJ blacked out, and there he goes. So we'll get him back. And I was surprised that happened. I didn't see anything during the course of that setup where he was going to black out. Okay, so before he comes back, we're going to update everybody on the big changes with the teams, crew chiefs, rookies. That's still to come. And keep in mind, just so you know, I guess one of the negative things that they have yet to figure out, the networks. There will be 6 different networks that are going to be covering the sport. Fox, FS1, Prime Video, TNT, NBC, and USA. So again, there will be 6 different TV networks covering Cup Series only. Cup Series only. The Truck Series and the what is the new one called? The
O'Reilly
Xfinity. Oh, O'Reilly. O'Reilly. Is it just O'Reilly or O'Reilly Auto Parts?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's O'Reilly Auto Parts, but I don't know if that's the official.
Just as we start to get used to calling it O'Reilly, they'll change it to something else. So yeah, they have their own networks, but Cup, we have 6. So get back to what you were saying there.
Yeah, sorry about that. The National Weather Service interrupted us. I thought it was NASCAR not liking me talk about their secret rules that they had. But in effect, the teams had the ability to vote 3 strikes against NASCAR if they did something that was against the sport's better interests. It just cost the teams money. Only one time has that strike been used in the past, and that was for the introduction of the Roval, because it cost the teams more money to set up a car and develop cars for road courses than it does for the oval. They have much more leverage on oval machinery and the testing and things that they need to do to set the cars up. They actually voted when NASCAR introduced the Roval instead of the oval, and that was the only time that a strike was used. Now, with the trial, with the new charter agreement, that 3 strikes rule is now back. NASCAR tried to take it out completely from the last charter offering, but with the court settlement, it is now a 5-strike rule. So if NASCAR were to make a decision that just costs the teams money, that is not in the interest of competition or safety, then the teams can kind of veto that, I guess, once you get up to 5 decisions in that direction. So the Roval was the only time in history that's been used, and I think that's a big reason as to why we're also going back to the oval this year.
Okay, well, that's definitely important to know. All right, now, as far as the changes on the track, what will the increased horsepower do to those tracks 1.5 mile or shorter, as well as the road courses? They're getting the new boost of horsepower, 670 to 750. Is that something at all that the fans, I'm assuming they're doing it for the fans. So exactly how does that help the fans? And does that help in handicapping at all?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. If you think about those tracks, what's most important is grip and getting up off of the corner. If you have more horsepower under these tires, you have a greater tendency to spin the tires and wear out your tires more quickly.
Okay.
So driver skill certainly is going to come more into the fore with an increase in horsepower on shorter tracks. Tire management is going to become a greater issue. The drivers will have a little bit more within their control what they can do with the throttle to help manage that. And that's exactly what we've been asking for, to put it in the hands of the drivers, to have tire fall off and have teams and drivers both make decisions with trade-offs.
Okay. Is there, when you're handicapping these races early on, or is there any way to take advantage of it? Or is it one of those things where you may not be able to take advantage of it until later in the season or at all?
I think the best tire manager last year that we saw was Denny Hamlin. So if you're going to go that direction early, I think Denny Hamlin's proven himself. There are probably a handful of others that are out there as well.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think we'll need to wait to see how the teams and drivers adapt to it over the season.
Okay. So there's no actual, or is there? Is there any data at all out there that says here are the drivers that are best at this, like a Denny Hamlin, or is this just a matter of like a scout? I just know because I know how this driver drives. I don't necessarily have the data other than just, hey, sure, I can write down who I think are the best drivers, but I don't have an actual data to tell you.
Mine is a little bit more than just writing it down off the top of my head.
Okay.
Going back to it, not completely, but a little bit more. I was going back to the Bristol races after Dirt left, and we had those massive tire issues. The one that tended to always rise to the top through those challenges was Denny Hamlin. So what I would do, I don't know if you've got, if Copilot or Chat GPT or Perplexity or whatever could go out and do it, but maybe ask that in the past, say 2 to 3 NASCAR seasons, what were the races with the greatest number of tire issues? And then go back and look at the finishing order in those races. You'll be able to see who is excelling at who would or should excel under this new greater horsepower rules package.
Excellent. Okay. So next up, we have some changes, not a lot, regarding drivers and crew chiefs and so forth. The biggest one actually comes from the rookie side with Connor Zilich making his appearance. So now look, we kind of had fun at the handicappers when Connor made his couple of appearances and he was like the second or third choice. So, but now he is a cup driver.
Yep.
And that means his name on certain road courses will be up where it still might be a little too early, but we'll see. So what should we expect from Zilich as a rookie? And do you think that based on experience with rookies, that especially this particular one, that we need to be a little bit cautious and don't go crazy, at least early on with Connor Zilich?
I think we've proven over many years not to go crazy too early. So that is a given. I think you have to look at the team that he's coming to and then take into account the fact that he's a rookie. Yes, he's had a lot of success. He's fantastic on the road courses. He went head to head with Shane Van Gisbergen in the now O'Reilly series for the win. So he's going up against the best on road courses. So does he deserve to be near the top on road courses? Probably. He's going to be in the seat every single week this year. So that's an advantage. Whereas last year he was coming in and doing one-off races. It's a lot harder. Even if you're going on ovals, it's a lot harder to just get into the car one weekend and expect to be at the best. If you are in that car every weekend, like I said, even with ovals, you have better knowledge of what the characteristics of the car are, how to work with the team, all the different aspects of a race, all of the different aspects of drivers around you. So I do think that we can expect to see Zilich take a step forward and be certainly more in the conversation realistically for the win on road courses. I do think it's going to take some time though. But the reason I said you got to take a look at the team that he is in, he's taking Daniel Suarez's seat. So where did Suarez and that team perform well last year? He's Shane Van Gisbergen's teammate in 2026. Certainly they perform well on the road courses, but I think you're going to have to pick and choose the ovals unless something major changes, because the rules aren't drastically changing for 2026 and the teams aren't going to automatically uproot and upend the traditional pecking order. And it's not like Daniel Suarez was the top dog going out every single weekend and battling it out with Larson, Bell, and Hamlin. So I think it's going to be very specific where we recommend Zilic. It's likely going to be on road courses. That could be, and certainly will be, I would expect it to be earlier in the season. As far as his oval pedigree, we're going to have to wait and see, and then probably pick our tracks wisely. I think as a rookie, with the experience that he has and as good as he is, it would not surprise me if he were to win a race this year, most likely an oval, but I wouldn't be shocked if he won. I'm sorry, on a road course. But I wouldn't be shocked if he won on an oval either.
And he's the only rookie, right?
He is the only rookie. There are rookies in the field, but they're only doing part-time schedules. So if you have a wager that has any kind of odds for Rookie of the Year, go ahead for Connor Zilic this year.
Yeah, I don't even know if they'll give that. So yeah, that'd be dumb. Okay, so what about, because I was looking over just to familiarize myself with these teams from last year, and I'm trying to figure out were there any changes?
There were a handful.
Daniel Suarez is one of them, right? You just mentioned his name.
Suarez was really the only change. He took Justin Haley's seat. Connor Zilic took Daniel Suarez's team. The interesting thing is what this sets up is so few changes in 2025. I think I read that there are 20 drivers that are not contracted for 2027. So this year is likely going to be the setup or the precursor for a very wild, silly season coming up this next season.
All right. When does that start about?
It's getting earlier and earlier. Probably will end up.
And it should be getting later and later.
Yeah, it'll probably start around August, September.
Okay. When is that? When does the chase start?
It'll be a little bit before the chase gets going.
Just a little bit before the chase. Okay. That's great. Always awesome to screw up the heads of drivers, crew chiefs, and everybody else working for those teams just before the playoffs. Yeah, that's great. Taking lessons from college football with the portal and coaches like Lane Kiffin splitting before the playoffs began.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least they actually split, though.
Yeah.
If it was NASCAR, he would have stayed on.
Would have, yes.
That would have been normal. So at least NASCAR is doing it that way. Can't blame him for that. All right. So is there Suarez or Haley's out? Anything else that just driver wise? Anybody else that's gone?
No, not on the driver side. Pretty much status quo from 25, barring the Zilic and Suarez swap.
And that's it. No other team changes, nothing. Just driver wise.
Well, you do have some crew chief changes. You have Haas actually moving from Ford to Chevrolet. You also have Rick Ware Racing moving from Ford to Chevrolet with new alliances. You've got probably 4-ish crew chief changes, probably the biggest of which was Kyle Busch. So Jim Pullman is going to be Kyle Busch's new crew chief. Randall Burnett left the Childress organization as Kyle Busch's crew chief to go be Connor Zilic's crew chief. Other than that, you had some promotions like Brandon McSwain and Justin Alexander, as well as Grant Hutchins. I think those were all promoted within their teams. So that means Eric Jones, Ross Chastain, and Noah Gragson will have new crew chiefs as well, but certainly not the plethora of changes that we're expecting or used to expecting every season, the biggest of which is Jim Pullman coming in from JGR. He used to be Allgaier's crew chief in the O'Reilly series. He will now be Kyle Busch's crew chief, which I think that makes sense because that team and that driver just needs some kind of boost. They showed some promise, but were never able to really capture it in 25 and weren't able to have a successful year, unfortunately.
And so, as you were also mentioning, so manufacturer change, it's only Haas and Rick Ware.
That's correct.
Okay. So Custer and Cody Ware. That's it.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So no changes there. Okay. And we do have the challenge back. I know how excited we are about that in-season challenge. So yeah, that's one thing that they're still going with. I guess it worked out so well for them last time that, maybe this year we'll see, just like the drivers I just mentioned, maybe Cole Custer and Cody Ware will battle it out for the championship this year.
Do you remember who won that? I don't even recall who.
Wasn't it Gibbs?
I think he was a finalist, but I can't remember if he won it.
I thought he was a finalist over that long shot. Who was that long shot?
That's how exciting it was. I'm so glad they're bringing it back.
Yeah, it was someone that doesn't win at all. I don't remember now, but I know. Oh, Ty Dillon.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah,
Okay.
I remember.
So
Battle
it
of the
was.
Ties.
Was that it? Was it Gibbs over Ty Dillon? Maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, let's go
Two
for
most
it.
memorable moments of it. Put it that way.
Yeah. And okay, so that's pretty much it. Again, the schedule for the next couple of weeks is going to be pretty straightforward. So next week, we are going to do the next Tuesday. We're back to Tuesdays, 4:00 Eastern for the most part. Anytime CJ needs to take a break, that will happen rarely. But when he does, or if it needs to change, then we'll make a change. But other than that, most of the time you can catch us live right here at Proline TV, 4:00 Eastern. And so don't forget to check us out, especially if you're into fantasy and you really want to get into another contest this season. Then hopefully we'll have all the information for you next week. If it's not by next week, we'll have it for you, where we're going to go through and show you, how to sign up and all that kind of stuff to make it easy for you. And I know we have, a lot of subscribers, basically viewers who have been with us for several years. And I know a lot of you guys are into fantasy. So I'm hoping that we could at least look, I'd be happy with 5 or 10 of our closest friends just getting together in a contest every week. And I'm sure we could do a lot better than that. So we're going to put that together, and hopefully we'll start getting it all, again, out and in your eye as far as how we're going to put it together and all that kind of stuff next week. Now, next week, we're going to do the Daytona 500 preview. So that'll give us, and the reason being is we always do the preview before the duels. And it made no sense that if we were going to do it before the duels anyway, well, what's the difference if we do it a whole week before? And this way, this will give us a couple of weeks out, and it'll give you more than enough time. And it's Daytona. So, I mean, we know what we have to deal with handicapping wise at tracks like Daytona. So we don't really need the extra week. And then the final week, which is going to be Daytona week, that's when we're going to give our season predictions. We'll go over our chase predictions. We'll take a look at the championship odds because this is going to be a little bit different. Because there's not even going to be like a Final Four or anything. It's just going to be make our prediction on who's going to win the championship, and we'll have to put something together. Maybe we'll put, we'll have sleepers and things like that. So we'll throw that in there because it's not just about putting it out there. It's to try to do what we can to just give an indication of who we kind of like this season and why. And that should help you out because, there'll be some weeks that maybe we don't necessarily point to a specific driver, but if we talked about that driver in the beginning of the season and told you how much we liked them, well, take advantage of that in other certain races. Just and I think that's what it should really. That's why I really think the season previews can be important. And then of course we'll come back mid-season, right around I guess the All-Star break, and take a look and kind of reshuffle and all that kind of stuff because we want to set you up not just for a weekly basis, which is what we're doing with the new fantasy contest segment each week, but also for the long haul for championship futures and everything else. Like I said, because we don't talk about or signify that we are on board with a specific driver each week, you'll know that there are drivers that we like over the course of the season, and I think that's valuable information. So, CJ, anything else before we wrap up here?
Hard to believe that there's snow on the ground and we're getting ready to go racing this weekend, and there might be snow on the track too. So. Such as NASCAR, but we'll end early November this year, and excited to be back. Excited to get to Daytona more so than the Clash, though. So give me a couple of weeks to ease into it, and we'll be great.
Yeah, next week this week is actually the lull, but then we've got Super Bowl, Daytona 500 after that, and then we're off and running with NASCAR every week, and then F1. We don't start talking F1 until when?
Probably not till March. They just hit the second day of closed door testing in Barcelona now, a whole new rules package. So this season could be an interesting one for Formula One, but we'll hit on that when we get to March.
Closed door testing. So I'm assuming the testing is not done on the track.
It's done on the track.
So
it's
closed track testing.
Anyone else? Yes.
Okay. So so you can actually, that's kind of difficult in today's technology that you could check things out. So I don't know. We'll have to find out who's being sneaky.
Lots of it.
Yeah. So that's not for a couple of months. It's all NASCAR before then and all season long. So check us out here at Proline TV. Links in the description where you can check out CJ Radune over at rotowire.com. And you're going to have a Clash. Are you going to have a Clash report?
Yeah, we'll have a Clash preview up. It'll have best bets as well as best picks for your fantasy roster. Same format as we'll be doing here weekly for the DraftKings Classic contest. We'll have the link for that to rotowire.com when it gets published, most likely Thursday or Friday of this week.
Okay. And if anybody has any, look, if you've been doing these contests yourself and you have any suggestions, things that you like or don't like, and you'd like for us to implement before we put it all together, let us know. Because again, CJ has been doing this for a while. I have never done this. So I personally am relying on CJ and you guys to let us know before we get started if there's anything specific that you've learned from other contests or contests at DraftKings that you think would be really good for us to do. Let us know because, hey, any day now, it'll be official and we'll have it all set and ready to go. So, CJ, it's good to see you again, talking NASCAR, and we'll do it again next week.
Sounds good. See you then. Thanks for having me.